Hello everyone, welcome back to this series where I share tips on fixing broken light bulbs. Today, I've got two simple tricks to show you, and I believe they'll be useful for anyone who often runs into lighting problems at home. Usually, when a bulb stops working, most people think of replacing it right away. But in many cases, just a few small steps are enough to solve the issue. Learning these quick tricks can save you both time and money, while also giving you more confidence to handle small problems yourself. In this video, I'll share two clear methods, explain step by step, so that anyone can follow along, even without experience. I believe that once you give it a try, you'll see fixing a bulb isn't nearly as difficult as it seems. Now, let's get started with the very first tip. The very first step is always to remove the cover of the LED bulb and take a look inside. It's the most straightforward way to understand what's really going on. Now, we'll place the bulb back into the socket to get ready for the next round of testing. Next, I'll be using these tweezers, just like I did in the previous video, to carry out the check. The process itself is quite simple, nothing complicated at all. What matters is that you follow along carefully with what I'm showing on screen. All you need to do is keep the contact steady until the bulb lights up. That's the clear sign the circuit is alive and your move was on point. Once I've located the faulty LED chip, I'll mark it right away. It's a simple habit, but an important one. It prevents confusion later when you move on to the actual repair. The next step is to use a blade to scrape off the glass cover of the faulty LED chip. Work carefully. The cover is thin and may shatter. Once removed, you'll see the chip, making it easier to repair or replace. It's delicate work, but an essential step toward the final fix. Here I've got an AA battery in my hand. Can you guess what I'm going to do with it? Don't overthink it. The trick is to use the thin metal casing wrapped around the battery. You don't need much. Just cut off a tiny piece, and that's enough. It's a simple but effective way to get the material you need for the next step of the repair. If you watched this far and found it helpful, please subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next tips. Since this piece of metal is a bit too thick, I'm going to use a hammer to flatten it out. It's a quick and effective way to shape the material into what we need. That's thin enough. No need to go any further. The piece is now at the right thickness for use. To secure the metal piece where the LED chip was scraped off, I'll cut a small strip of tape and place the piece right in the middle. If there's any excess metal, I'll trim it down. This step makes sure everything stays in place before we test it. The reason behind this is simple. The metal acts as a substitute bridge, allowing current to pass through the spot where the chip failed. Once the circuit is closed again, the bulb will light up as normal. Now I'll press it down with my hand, so the tape sticks more firmly. This not only secures a metal piece in place, but also pushes out any trapped air, preventing gaps inside. It's a small move, but it makes a connection more stable and ensures solid contact. After that, I'll add a small drop of glue to reinforce the hold. The glue keeps the metal piece firmly in place and prevents it from shifting during use. You don't need much, just enough to cover the area and secure a stable, lasting connection. I'd say that's firm enough. Time to put it to the test. The bulb is shining again, which means our first tip worked, using nothing more than a tiny piece of metal. This clearly shows that sometimes you don't need to replace the whole thing. You can solve the problem by making use of what's already around you. A small detail, but it delivers a big result. What matters is paying attention, testing carefully, and taking each step with patience. With this simple approach, the light is back on, and the repair proves that even minor adjustments can bring something back to full working order. Moving on to the second tip, I'm repeating the exact same steps as I did at the start of the video. The point is simple. I want you to see that everything I'm doing is transparent, with no tricks or shortcuts involved. What I share here is based on real experience, tested and proven. If you already trust me, you're free to skip ahead and jump straight to the second method. But if you like full certainty, stay with me and watch carefully as I go through the process again from the very beginning. If you stayed with me and didn't skip ahead, I'd like to share a deeply moving real-life story. In Ukraine, a campaign called Together We Bring Light, supported by the European Union, allowed people to exchange their old incandescent bulb for energy-efficient LED bulbs for free. In just under 2 years, over 40 million LED bulbs were distributed to households across the country, stretching all the way to remote villages. What truly strikes me is that this initiative didn't just save energy. It brought actual light into people's lives in the midst of wartime hardship. Many recipients are elderly or living in difficult circumstances. For them, having light at night isn't just convenience. It's safety and a small measure of normalcy during turbulent times. It's a simple story, but it speaks volumes. Meaningful, collective action, no matter how small, can illuminate more than just a room. It lights up hope. For this tip, I'll cut the power first. A simple but essential step to stay safe. At this stage, I'm applying a thin layer of flux to the LED chip surface after scraping off the glass. Only then will I solder the damaged spot with tin. Many people overlook this step, but flux plays a key role. It cleans the surface, reduces oxidation, and ensures the solder flows evenly and bonds securely. That's why the final joint becomes much stronger and more reliable. It may seem like a small detail, but it makes all the difference. I'll explain more in detail once the soldering step is complete. Now let's test it right away and see how effective it is. The second tip has worked, and as promised, here's why. Applying flux to the scraped LED chip cleans the surface, reduces oxidation, and helps solder bond securely, ensuring a stable joint. Both tips work perfectly, showing that careful observation and following each step matter more than expensive tools. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to support the channel.